the sixth and last on our series of webinars related to the TeaMLit project. So it's really nice to see some very familiar faces here. Thank you for joining us again. And we know that people will be joining, we hope, over the next 5 or 10 minutes for our session this afternoon. If you have a moment, maybe you could just adjust your name and indicate the name of the organisation that you're joining us from this afternoon. We're also recording the session, and we'll also be able to share resources with you afterwards as well. Please keep your camera on, your mic off, and hopefully we'll have a good opportunity for discussing what we're going to talk about during the session this afternoon. So my name is Sally Reynolds, and this is, I said, the last in our series of sessions related to the TeaMLit project on teacher training in media literacy. And we wanted to focus the session this afternoon on what we call work package 4, which is the third element of work which has been carried out by the project, and that's the creation of the online course, Make Education More Media Literate, which has been developed by our friends and colleagues and partners in Mediawijs. So after this brief introduction from me, I'm just going to give you a quick reminder of what the project's about. Chloe will share probably some links in the chat with you as well. We're going to go straight into a presentation of the online course by Bert and Jeroen. We're going to show you what has been created thus far, talk about the general aim of the online course, and take a deep dive then into the online modules with the focus on module 3. And also to talk about integrating the modules into other programs. We're then going to do some breakout rooms, depending on the number of people, but hopefully we'll have enough people to go into 3 different breakout rooms, because we really would like to have a discussion with you, the participants, this afternoon. We're going to have 3 different topics: how to get to know the interests of children and young people. Secondly, about a second group on sharing your own media literacy practice. And then a third one on supporting your colleagues. And then we'll come back about 3:05, just after 3 o'clock, Central European summertime, for a debrief. And then we'll have a final wrap up at 3:15 our time. So that's the plan. And then just a quick reminder to anybody who is maybe is new to our TeaMLit project. This is an 18-month project that has been supported by the European Media and Information Fund. You can see on the screen the partners that have been involved in this project. So the Media Learning Association, our association, has been the lead partner. And then we've also the other partners, other 5 partners, as you can see: the Association Communication and Media Culture in Croatia, Heidelberg School of Education in Germany, Mediawijs, who will be leading the session this afternoon, DCU, Dublin City University in Ireland, and the Finnish Society of Media Education, as well as a group of supporting partners that we have working with the project. Primary aim of this project right from the start has been to, as you can see written on the screen, our focus is on having a value-added and sustainable network providing support to trainer trainers, those who are responsible for training teachers and other trainers in media literacy. So that's been our primary focus, and you can see the areas of work that we've been involved with. Any of you who were with us yesterday for the EAB will have had a summary of this. First of all, the research, review, and analysis work, which you already can find 2 reports on the work carried out, and the third one will be published in the summer. The second block of work was the network, building up the network and the exchange of best practices and testing out best practices led by our colleagues in Croatia. And now this third area of work this afternoon, which it features, which is the repository of resources, which Bert and Jeroen will probably allude to, but more practically the course. The course is what we're going to focus on this afternoon. So I think that's everything from me. In the meantime, I see, great, we have a group of new people who've joined. So you're very welcome. If you are just joining now, just please, if you wouldn't mind, just adjust your name to indicate where it is that you're joining us from, whether the name of the country or the name of the organisation. That's always helpful. And use the chat. We're very happy if people want to exchange ideas and information in the chat at the same time, ask questions, put links, use the chat as widely as you like. And that's it, I think. I'm going to now hand over to Bert. So Bert Pieters from Mediawijs is going to present the TeaMLit course. Over to you, Bert.
Hi, hello everybody. Good afternoon. As Sally said, my name is Bert, and let me share my presentation with you. And we're almost there. Yes, there we are. Hi, I'm Bert, and together with Jeroen, who will talk later, we worked on the online training modules within the TeaMLit project. And we created those modules to make education more media literate. That's our baseline for the online training course. TeaMLit is a project that, as Sally just said, we want to encourage teacher trainers to teach media literacy. Teacher trainers are our core audience, but of course, the teacher trainers are not the only audience we want to reach via the teacher trainers. We want to encourage teachers to teach media literacy because, of course, they need to do it in the end. And we want to create young media literate people or media literate young people afterwards. So that is our three-step rocket. I don't know if that is an English expression, but at least in Flemish that works. So that is the main idea of TeaMLit. So in TeaMLit, we have an online network to exchange. We have within that network the possibility to test practice scenarios from other countries, from other regions. We have the research that Sally mentioned as well, and that some of you probably have seen or have heard of in previous webinars, the research that is done within the project about what's happening in other countries in teacher training on media literacy. We have a repository of inspiring practices for teacher trainers. So you don't have to invent the wheel again. And we have worked on online models to be used in teacher training activities. Those are the different things that we are doing within this project. This just as a little recap of what Sally said, of course, but let's focus on the online training models. The aim is, as every good project, we had a project proposal, and in that project proposal, we said, well, we will create 5 online modules. So if some of you said, why 5? Well, because that was already some of the ideas we had beforehand, and we would create those online training models in English. That was a choice we made in the beginning. Those training modules should be designed for standalone use, we said. So people individually could use those training modules, or a group of people could use them. And we used the Teachable platform. Teachable is one of the many platforms to create online trainings, online training options. So that's the one we used. But it is also designed for use in larger programs, and you could say your program maybe, larger programs. So you could use the videos, the activities, the tests we are using and use them in other possibilities. So we said beforehand, we will make the texts, the subtitling available for local translation. Literal translation, or maybe some translation with adaptation, could be an option. Of course, those were the few aims we had from the beginning. Content was still open. The specific formats were still open for discussion. We didn't do that alone. So we, Mediawijs, Jeroen and I, in particular, we were in charge of that. But of course, we didn't do this alone. We didn't do this alone with the TeaMLit consortium, but we used the network of teacher trainers within the TeaMLit project to think about. And these are a few people who attended at least one of the TeaMLit networks. And within those networks, we discussed a few times, okay, what is the specific need? What do you think that a good online training could be useful for? what are your specific needs? We brought all the input from the TeaMLit network meetings to our external advisory board, and you can see a few of them on the pictures here. We had a meeting with our external advisory board in Zagreb, and we discussed in detail, okay, this is our idea, what do you think about it? Is it useful? What should be changed, etc. As brainstorms go, you know how that works. And we came, okay, what should be the content? Well, it should be usable for pre-service and in-service teachers. So both the teachers who are still in their initial teacher training, the pre-service, and the teachers who are already teaching, the in-service teachers. So both, it should be interesting for both, because of course, a teacher who's teaching for 20 years didn't have any courses on media literacy, or maybe very few. So it should be usable for both those groups. And we said, well, we should focus on the didactics and pedagogical methodologies and not on the media literacy knowledge. So not on AI, fake news, cyberbullying, because there is plenty of knowledge-based options already available on the one hand, but for some topics like disinformation or AI, well, it's very hard to keep your content up to date. Definitely AI, what we will write today is probably outdated in a few weeks. So we said focus on the didactics, pedagogical methodologies, how to build effective media literacy activities. That was the main question. What works in that sense? But also we should focus on the needs of pupils, colleagues, the school, maybe parents, because how can we feel what is needed? That might be very different in Flanders, here in Flanders, than in Croatia, but also maybe in my school in a quite large city, or another school what is platteland? The countryside, rural areas, that might be very different. So could be interesting as well to have a look at that. And we came up, okay, so there are micro level topics that we should address, like, okay, what can I do in my classroom? Micro level. There are meso levels. So, okay, me and my colleagues, how could we collaborate? How could we teach and learn from each other? And the macro level, okay, a policy level, how to deal with that. So all those topics came up. So we should differentiate between those three, because maybe some of the participants are interested in the micro level, but not in the macro level, etc. So that is something that came up from the network meetings, from the external advisory boards, and of course the internal TeaMLit consortium meetings. So that was the main ideas. Jeroen and I started working, or at least we continued working, and we also try to be some kind of actor or some kind of lecturer online. This is the trailer video of what we came up with. So let's share that.
Games, newspapers, social media. We use a lot of media. We live in a mediatized world and we rely on media a lot. So from a young age on, you should be media literate. But how?
How can you, as a teacher, teach media literacy? How do you support your colleagues in media literacy education? And how do you involve the whole school community?
We've got 5 online modules to help you to get started with videos, background information, and exercises. Completely free of charge for every teacher, whether you are a beginner or an experienced one.
And this is our trailer video. And before, I hope you all are getting excited already and you want to go to the website. But please wait, because Jeroen will show you afterwards how it looks like and then how to deal with it. But this is our teaser video, how to get
Games,
people,
newspapers, social.
yes, okay, there we are again. As I said, we have content on a micro level, meso level, macro level. These are the different modules that we're having. We have, of course, an introduction module. We have 3 modules for the teacher in the class, but the first module is about how do you deal with media yourself? How media literate are you? That is a reflection module. The second one is, okay, what are the needs of my pupils? How do they use media? The third one is more the pedagogical one. What can I do in my classroom? And the fourth one is collaborating with your colleagues. And the fifth one is embedding all those ideas in the whole school level. Now I'm going to take a break and I'll leave the floor to Jeroen, who will show you the modules a bit more in detail.
Okay. Yes. I will show you what we've built up to module 3 already. Voila. So when you go to teamlit.eu, you will come on the landing page where we have collected all the modules together. We'll have just a little bit basic information first, and then we divide the modules in how to get to work on media literacy as a beginner, as a classroom teacher that wants to start with media literacy. But also we have module 4 and 5. They are not online yet, but how can you, as an experienced teacher, learn more on how to bring your colleagues on board and how to get media literacy on a school level going? When you scroll down, you will have the overview of all the modules. As you see, module 0 is the introduction, module 1 is the reflective exercise on media literacy, then module 2 is on what teachers, what you can do and why you should teach media literacy. And then we have module 3. So today I'm going to go through module 3 with you guys to see what it feels like, what it looks like, which questions we are asking. So let's start with the first one. This is how it looks. On the left side, you will have all the different topics that we're going to tackle today. One module is around 30 to 45 minutes, something like that. It differs from module to module. We just start with what you're going to learn today and why you shouldn't be a perfect, you don't need to be a perfect media literacy teacher to teach media literacy. You can do it in various and numerous ways. You go to the next one, and then we want to zoom out a little bit, not to focus only on media literacy, but also how do I teach in an effective way in general? What can help myself as a teacher to really give effective practice and teaching? And then we have the 12 building blocks from Tim Surma. He composed 12 building blocks. They're very straightforward, but just a reflective exercise. Okay, as a teacher, I need to provide support. I need to activate relevant prior knowledge. Or I use tests to check what my students have learned. So these are a little bit general, but then we also tend to ask questions throughout the modules. For example, here, first in general, where do you use one or more of these building blocks in your teaching? And then you can do a reflective exercise on yourself. But also we want to ask, okay, we have the 12 building blocks, but how would you use these 12 building blocks to enhance students' learning in your media literacy lessons, to make the link to media literacy? Then we have also a question that comes up often. Do I need to use digital tools all the time when I'm using when I'm talking about media literacy. Certainly not. You can tackle media literacy when you're not using tools. It shouldn't be the goal, but rather a means to achieve educational goals, and so on. And as Bert said, we also have a module. Per module, we have a video on where we explain some topics on how do I teach media literacy. I want to look at this video with you together. This is a 4-minute video. The videos vary around 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, let's get started.
As a teacher, you are important for your students. You play a key role in enhancing their media literacy. But how can you do this? Let's explore some approaches you can utilize. First and foremost, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to teaching media literacy to your students. And although media literacy is the goal, media literacy is a lifelong learning process. And the way to achieve it can take various forms. Students should not only be able to actively use media, but also learn to approach it critically and consciously. All this requires different approaches. Regardless of the approach you choose to bring media literacy into your classroom as a teacher, you should consider your own style, educational context, and the students you have in front of you. Your students also grow in their media literacy knowledge, so take a step-by-step approach. Use a combination of different approaches to make your students media literate. But how do you do that? Let's explore some options. Some teachers start with a question and let students explore it. For example, why do social media sometimes makes you sad or very happy? How do you find reliable sources? Who owns the media you consume? Students conduct research, search for relevant sources, conduct interviews with classmates, and present their findings at the end. This approach develops both their critical thinking and research and presentation skills. You can also start by actively engaging with media production and then reflect on what you have created, both in terms of content and form. Your students can create an advertisement for their favorite product, but for different audiences, showcasing communication skills and persuasion techniques. While the previous example was very technical, media also have a significant impact on our emotions and feelings. Media literacy is about gaining insights into your emotions. Think of hate messages that can have a personal impact on us, but also influence how we perceive certain groups in society, or propaganda that affects our behavior. Social emotional learning is a crucial part of developing media literacy in students. Of course, your students are to some extent already media literate and can help each other to become even more media literate. In the learning conversation, where you begin with a question such as, how would you recognize online scammers? Or how do you manage your screen time? You facilitate the discussion and they mainly provide tips to each other. Do you notice them encountering challenges? That's when you can provide an additional workshop or lesson. As a teacher, you are the guide to make your students media literate. It's not a one-size-fits-all story, because it's all about combining different approaches. Therefore, explore what is achievable for you and collaboratively build the media literacy of your students and yourself as a teacher.
There we go. So this is one of the videos that is in the modules. As I said, we also have other videos on other topics where we just want to give a quick overview on what the module is about. But of course, as a teacher, we want to know some so much more about how we could teach media literacy. Then we go a little bit deeper in some didactical approaches to teach media literacy. Here we have two additional didactical approaches. For example, the 5 C's. 5 C's are 5 stages of a framework you can use to build your media literacy lesson. For example, we have the connect principle, the concept principle, the concrete principle, conclude, and continue. This is a way you can build your class, your lessons to grasp a topic on media literacy. Here, as a teacher, you can go through, and then we also have an example. For example, the data boxes. It's a tool from VRT, Flemish broadcasting company, that uses this approach to tackle, for example, politics. Then you can go through this data box where they use this principle and the 5 C's. Then we also tackle inquiry-based and problem-based learning, since this is also a good way to approach media literacy topics on step by step. For example, by posing a question and trying to investigate what's the answer to the question. For example, who creates this message when they encounter a message that upsets them, and what might be the purpose for their agenda. So they really familiarize with the topic, then they conceptualize it, formulate hypothesis, then investigate why would a person do this, ask other people, maybe do interviews or research, and they look at the data, they make a conclusion, and then they reflect on what they have learned. As already said also in the video, don't forget the emotions of your students. Here we illustrate this by a research by Schreurs and Van den Bos, where they say that it's crucial that pupils not only have knowledge and skills related to media literacy, but also that they put them into action. Students can know, okay, on an Instagram profile is picture perfect. They may know that it's not necessarily the perfect life the person has behind the profile, but do they know how to act on it? Do they know how to think, okay, maybe I should unfollow this person because it triggers negative emotions? So this is also these are also skills that teachers need to learn and to their students. Then we also have an example, check your students' vibe. This is a way to discuss their emotions. For example, when they encounter certain emotions on social media, it's helpful to give them the strategies and talk about it. And here, this is an example how you can do it. We also have some good practices on primary school level and secondary school level. These are the practice scenarios that we gathered in work package 3 from the last webinar, where we gathered all the practice scenarios here, how you can really get to work on media literacy and on concrete topics. For example, Criticat is a tool to philosophize with primary school students. This is also a tool from Austria, how students can use a hero in digital media and get to learn some media literacy skills. A tool from Croatia, we gathered a lot of tools and approaches, one from Germany, and we divided them up in primary and secondary education. For example, here we have the secondary education tools. from Finland, from Belgium, also from Ireland, from Finland again. And this is just a way to show teachers what is possible, what can you do, what is being done around Europe. But after that, we also want to encourage them to share their own practice, because it's something we really want to get started here through this module, to know that, to share what you are doing, to inspire other colleagues that are following this course. For example, how do you approach teaching media literacy in your classroom based on 5 topics that is used in the Dishcom Edo module. And there we want to gather all the information. So this is the end of module 3 then, a set of 3 modules. And at the end of module 3, you'll also be able to get a certificate of attendance that you followed and enrolled in module 1, 2, and 3. Then you can just fill this out as a teacher, and you will get an official certificate in your email, to show that you really followed the course. So this is a quick overview of the module. When you're going through, it's going to be much more on a lower pace, but I wanted to rush a little bit through this to get a grasp on, a grasp on what it's like. Voila. And by this, I want to pass on the word again to my colleague Bert. He will finish up this.
Yes, let me share my screen again. And it should be there. As I said before, this training module, you can use it, you can share it as it is right now. So we have 3 modules online already. Next week, there will be module 4, and then 2 weeks later, there will be module 5. You can share that, you can use that. But if you want, you can use it also in your program, as I said before. So we already know that in Greece, in Bulgaria, in Flanders, there are a few people thinking about it. Okay, can we use it in our own platform, maybe adapt it a little bit because it is in line with some of the ideas we already have, etc. Yes, that is definitely possible. How to deal with that? Well, you can host it on your own training platform if you want to do that, because we cannot do that on our Teachable account. It's limited. So sorry about that, but feel free to use whatever other training platform that you know that you have. We want you to translate the text of the videos, but we can put the subtitles online. As already mentioned in the chat, there are a few there are quite a lot of languages already available at the moment. That's quite easy. We will send you the text to do that. But if you host it on your own platform, do credit TeaMLit and the partners. That's always very nice and very correct. And please do share the link with us, because we love to know where people use it, etc. It's very interesting to know where are people adapting, how are people using it. So that is definitely something interesting. As already mentioned, there are now you see a lot of me. I know this may be an overload, but as you see, we already have a lot of languages available, but I hope a few more to come already. As Jeroen said, you can get your certificate, and was already mentioned by Cleo in the chat, Chloe in the chat, sorry. You can get your certification. You fill in the form that Jeroen showed, then you'll get a congratulations that you have completed the 3 first modules. You can get this as a PDF. So not that. Sorry about that. That was a serial sneeze, I know, but it's quite easy to do that. It's not an official certificate. We don't have any deals with any public governments, etc. That might be the case if you integrate that in your own course, but that's for later. And that is mostly it that we wanted to show, because we want to make some time for the breakout rooms, because we want to have some discussion with you in smaller groups. I don't know if we have enough people for 3 breakout rooms, but I guess there are.
I think so. Yeah, Bert, I think we're okay. Yeah.
So we have 20-25 minutes to share our. That was Jeroen making some noise, but nothing bad happened. So we can use that time to share with you. We want to focus on 2 things. First is a general question. What are your thoughts about these models? What do you think about it? Are they useful? Etc. Of course, we cannot adapt because by the end of June, our project is done, but we do want to know what you think about it. So that is the first question. And when that is done, we want to focus on a reflection exercise that is in the models. So we have picked a few, we have picked 3 reflection exercises that normally we ask somebody, okay, do this with your team, with your colleagues, with other students. So we will do that with you. There will be one about my pupils, their media and their needs. So we will think about, okay, how can we know, how can we learn about their media habits? So we'll think about that. In a second one, we'll focus on a reflection exercise in module 3. So what can I do as a future teacher in my classroom? It's look, what am I already doing and how can we learn from each other? That will be in that breakout session. And in the last breakout session, we will do a reflection exercise from module 4, which is how to get my colleagues involved, and we will share some ideas on how can we share knowledge with them, how can we share practices with them. That's it for the
Yeah, sorry, but I suppose what the best thing to probably look at now is to try and just do a kind of a wrap and a discussion about what the different groups were talking about. So maybe we should do that as a round, Bert. Maybe you could lead with where you were with your group and continue the conversation, if you like, with the rest of us.
Okay. We just had I tried to wrap up our personal ideas on the content of how it could be used, etc. And we want to start to reflect the reflection exercise. So just when I was going to start that one, you cut us off, or somebody in the universe cut off us. I don't know what
Mr.
happened.
Zoom, we'll play Mr. Zoom.
Mr. Zoom or Mrs. Zoom. What people said was that, okay, it looked, some of the people said, well, I don't know it yet, but it looks interesting, so I'll have a look at it if it works. People are glad that there are translations of the videos already, so that is definitely so glad with that. Somebody in our group had already done one module and was saying, well, that she would have a look at the other modules as well, so that is interesting as well. So there was also somebody who had a view on the 3 different modules and said, well, the good thing is that it inspires teachers, even teachers, to be it is not too overwhelming, so it gives them some trust. Okay, we know already something. I'm glad that was the reflection, because that was something that we wanted to do. And as I said before, we had a lot of ideas, but mainly it was Ricardo from DCU who was working on this project until December, who said, no, we should focus on the very basis that teachers need about media literacy, not don't go too broad in what you want to tell. It's okay, what do teachers need in the beginning of teaching media literacy? So I'm glad that is one of the first reflections. And there was somebody who said, well, okay, what do you think? Is this a training that will be used for individual teachers, or could it be used by groups? As I explained, well, it is designed that it can be used for an individual one. So even if you don't have any support of colleagues or of the school board, that you can be inspired as an individual, and that definitely with the first 3 modules that you feel inspired to do at least some media literacy activities. But of course, when we talk to the people from Flanders, Bulgaria, Greece, they want to integrate that in larger training programs. So probably then there will be more group discussion activities, etc. So that was basically the summary
of feedback, yeah.
In our session. Maybe I forgot something, but then definitely somebody from my group will come up with that. I don't know what, Sally, what happened in your...
Well, in my group, we didn't discuss the modules at all because we got stuck right immediately into the task. And so we were, so I'm sure some of the group have feedback on the modules, and we'll take a moment in a second to hear that. But just to summarize, we talked a little bit about the 2 specific approaches that are taken in practice. And that's very much driven by make your own media and learn from that experience. So that was good to hear from Margaret from the Guardian Foundation, and also from Celine talking about her work as well. But we didn't get a chance to talk about the modules or have any feedback on that. And I'm just looking at anyone from my group who was there. Did you have anything you wanted to respond to in terms of the modules and Bert and Jeroen's presentation? Celine, yeah, shoot.
Yeah. I just think it may be useful actually to journalists as well, and not only teachers. As journalists may be media literate, but they may have a lack of skills in terms of pedagogical approach. And I think it can give them a structure and some pedagogical skills. And maybe it's something you can think of in the future as well.
That's a good idea. And I think also maybe for Hamid, in terms of when we were talking about the work that you do with journalists going into schools, that maybe then this resource might be useful for you guys to have a look at as well too. That'll be great. That's kind of all from my group. How did you get on, Jeroen?
Well, we started with a video of Bert explaining how to involve your colleagues. So we just started this discussion when we were cut off, a little bit the same as Bert. We didn't talk anything about the modules yet. But Rabep wanted to share her experience, her concrete examples. And she said she invites colleagues on trainings on media literacy where they get certification. Just to get the teachers to know what you're doing. And then you were also she was also talking a little bit of showing the impact of media literacy, but then we cut off. I don't know, Rabep, if you want to elaborate a little bit what you were going to say there, or yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So first I shared my experience with some colleague when I shared with them some trainings and workshops to invite them to take part of it, to learn more, and to become even trainers. They were so interested when I told them that they can become trainers of media literacy. So this was really useful. The second thing is that I tried to share with them my experience with media literacy and journalism trainings with some children and teenagers, and I've showed them the impact of that on them, especially on the courses of misinformation and how it's important to share accuracy and verification. So showing them the impact, I think it was really a good idea to invite them to be more involved and to take part. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's very, very nice for to really see what you're doing and see what you're changing with teaching media literacy. I don't know if anyone from our group wanted to add something else. We also had a little Padlet discussion where we posed 2 questions. How can I make my colleagues more media literate? And one of the, I think it was from you, inviting them to a media literacy workshop and trainings. But Iglika also said by asking smart, humble questions, expressing sincere interest in their experience and attitudes with and towards media. The way you frame your questions could be a trigger of a self-reflection, curiosity, a dialogue, openness, and new ways of thinking for the people answering the question. So yeah, really asking questions to your colleagues, let them reflect on their media literacy knowledge and skills. And then we also had another question: how can I motivate my colleagues? There we had an example from the TeaML motivation questionnaire about 12 different motivations that drive teachers' interest in media literacy. I don't know it yet. Don't know who.
Can we share that resource? Be interesting.
Yeah, there was a link, www.setyourmotivations.com.
Okay, we get that into the chat maybe.
I will put it in the chat, but we didn't get the chance to talk about it yet, so I don't know who put it in.
Anyone here put it in? Interesting.
No. Yeah, something to look into. It was I'm gonna put just all the. What does anybody think the barriers are in terms of getting your colleagues involved? Like, is it fear of failure? Is it lack of time? Is it discomfort with the topic that media literacy leads them into uncomfortable waters? What do you think? See you nodding, Idlika. Yeah.
Is this a general question for everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Could I pitch in maybe then, please? So with regards to media literacy, I'm thinking Malta, so the local issue. It really isn't taught. It's not part of the national curriculum at all. I think the fear part of it really is because we're so polarized politically. Here, people think politics with a capital P. So people are afraid to talk about politics, for example, in school. And this also relates to our media because, well, I'm sure you're aware of Malta's media situation. It's quite bad. In 2017, Daphne Caruana Galizia was assassinated. She was an investigative journalist. She also happens to be one of my own aunts, actually. And I think her assassination is a real reflection of just how bad the state of the media is, really. So again, it's the polarization, and media literacy is something we really need to be talking about, really need to be working on. But I think there's fear to talk about these things in schools, especially.
That's kind of a question for other people as well, Tara. I mean, how difficult is it to separate politics from media literacy in your countries? Is it as much of a challenge? Thinking even here in Belgium, Bert and Jeroen, it's not so embedded. When you walk into a classroom, are you into a political debate if you start talking about media literacy? I don't think so.
Basically, to say I'm agree with Megan because we should trust politicians, but it's very difficult now, because they all have crisis in our countries and the world. So we should work on it. How to trust us because we are providing politician lines, anyway.
I suppose the point is, how do you talk about media literacy and not go into that debate? Does anybody have any insights on that?
I just took a class on safety for children on the internet, and media literacy was one of the topics that was connected to.
Have I lost Paula?
The
Or
class because they're going to know.
Sorry, Paula, but we lost you briefly. Continue.
Yeah, there's a concern that children know how to manipulate the different parts of the internet so that they're safe, and media literacy, understanding what you see and what is said and who is saying it, is a big part of that, according to the class that I just took. So I think that you can remove yourself from the politics and say, there are other reasons that children or anyone needs to know what the media they're consuming is saying or doing to them emotionally or otherwise.
Yeah. Certainly the good advice I've always heard is, when you start, don't start with politics. Don't start going down that road, as you're saying. There are other subjects, other ways of
Yes, I believe that as a child, when I entered into understanding the media, it was not taught as a political thing. It was taught understanding what you see and appreciating it in a different way. So, but that was a long time ago.
Anyone else got any thoughts on that? And Megan, we share sympathy as well with you in the situation that you're in. Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bert, Jeroen, anything you'd like further to ask this group before we bring the session to an end?
Well, in general, I'm very glad with all those first impressions, and I hope that some of you will test it out, will have a broader look, and feel free to share any feedback. As I said, we don't have a lot of options for adapting. In the text there is, but we have no options of recreating videos or because that is too time costly and it costs too much of our time and money. But when there need to be some adaptations that can be done, feel free to share any thoughts. As Chloe says, reach out for any translations. That is very nice to have. We're open for every suggestion, I guess, and we'll see when we can address that suggestion from a point of view. But
and just to say from our side as well too, the project finishes the end of June, but we will continue to have the modules available on the meeting website going forward, along with the network, which will continue as well too. So these two aspects will continue. So it's not going to stop. As Chloe said, doing the transcripts hasn't taken too much time. So she's done them into French. If other people are willing to do them into other languages, that's great for us. Thank you very much. And also, the only thing we ask is that you credit us, if you don't mind. Rabeb, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you so much. I would like to speak about the importance of the Arabic language, not because I speak Arabic, but many materials, many tools, we can find it in French, in English, and in Spanish, but not in Arabic. So it would be great also if you can add the Arabic translation, and I can help on that. But please don't forget also the importance of Arabic language for the Arab audience. Thank you.
We would be more than happy to be able to include Arabic translations. So we're going to take you up on that. Thank you, Rabib. That's very kind of you. And make sure that they're available as well. So thank you so much. That's more or less all we have to say. The only thing we ask is that you credit us and the funder. So because otherwise we get into trouble from the funder if we don't make sure they're credited. So that's the only thing. Please make sure when you're doing any of this work that you reference where it comes from. But of course, we're all part of the same community in this fight against disinformation and building up media literacy skills. So I think that's everything we had to cover today. As Chloe has put on the screen, we have a further, before the summer, one more Wednesday webinar in this series. It's on the topic of media and information literacy and youth citizen journalism through mobile stories. So join us on the 22nd of May for that session. We'd love to have you with us. And we'll be announcing the autumn agenda toward the beginning of June as well. So you'll see the sessions that we're going to run in autumn in this Wednesday webinar series. I think that's everything we were going to cover for today. I'm looking at my colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're not already signed up to our newsletter, please do. It comes out every month, and there's lots of information there about media literacy. And please also have a look at our website. Hopefully there's lots of resources you can use, including the recording of the session, which will be made available within the next couple of weeks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to Bert and Jeroen in particular for leading on the session today, and to all of you for joining us. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.